Perfection is actually a sophisticated form of procrastination that intelligent people use to avoid doing real work. Wait and listen to me, right? I don't think perfection is a standard. I don't think it's a goal. I don't even think it is real. I think it's an illusion that actually keeps people paralyzed. It makes them comfortable with procrastinating and ultimately producing nothing of value, right? I think it's the excuse people try to give themselves for not starting, for not pushing out their work, for not finalizing what they are writing, for not showing up. Perfection is not excellence. I think it is fear that is dressed up as standards, and it actually destroys potential. It keeps you from you. It keeps you from the world. It keeps you from knowing what you're capable of achieving. So yeah, I'll be showing you three frameworks really that can replace pursuing perfection and why perfection is in it. But perfection is actually a sophisticated form of procrastination that intelligent people use to avoid doing real work. I think it's an illusion that actually keeps people paralyzed. It makes them comfortable with procrastinating and ultimately producing nothing of value, right? I think it's the excuse people try to give themselves for not starting, for not pushing out their work, for not finalizing what they are writing, for not showing up. I think perfectionism can actually be that problem, because while somebody that is actually pursuing perfection is trying to finalize that first word that they've written, somebody is just somewhere finalizing their 10th draft and pushing it into the world and saying that, hey, read my piece and you can tell me what you think. But somebody that wants it perfect, oh, they never push it out. Perfection is not excellence. I think it is fear that is dressed up as standards, and it actually destroys potential. It keeps you from you. It keeps you from the world. It keeps you from knowing what you're capable of achieving. I think that's what perfection is. And honestly, what we just want to discuss today is actually something that is actually counterintuitive. How I think that perfectionism is counterproductive. How I think that it's not what you need to pursue. I think that the moment we dwell on perfectionism too much, it just makes you, of course, maybe you want to pursue it, but you never really do what you're meant to do within a certain time because you want your work to be very, very perfect. And I will just be giving you a framework that replaces perfectionism rather than pursuing perfectionism. Why don't you pursue what I call progressive excellence, such that you keep working and you keep improving what you've currently done. So maybe you can improve what you've currently done to perfection, but currently, I think when you're starting out, perfectionism is the worst thing to be dealing with. So yeah, I'll be showing you three reasons and three frameworks really that can replace pursuing perfection and why perfection is in it. But before I actually go into the first point, I would just implore you, just take 30 seconds out of your time to just subscribe this and you can share it with your friend. And also please don't forget to like, so that YouTube algorithm actually works in our favor. Now, the first point is actually that perfection is paralysis, right? Let's eventually start with the fundamental problem, which is that perfectionism isn't about high standards. It's just about fear of being criticized, fear of failure, fear of being judged by the people who do not know anything about what you're doing. And this fear, they are often disguised as standards. And what they do is they paralyze you. And what you usually come up with is this word: I'm not ready yet. Is it actually that you're not ready yet, or you're afraid that once this lands outside, people would just pile on it and start saying what they think about it? You become a professional procrastinator with this, and then your excuses look very sophisticated, such that when people hear it, they can't fight it, and then it feels that you are really on that path where, in essence, you're not making anything happen. You're just procrastinating, like an expert procrastinator. But think about this logically, right? That if perfection rather is very, very easy, or people usually hit perfection all the time, why is it that you've not met a perfect person? At least someone that doesn't have any yet to do's or yet to gets in their life. I've read a lot of biographies, a lot, and there is no biography that I've read from the first chapter to the last chapter that describes the person as a perfect person. There is always something through every chapter that the person has mastered iterating. So instead of perfection, why don't we think more about iteration? Maybe that's even better, because you can never reach perfection, right? And when you make perfection your standard, you're literally setting yourself up for guaranteed failure. Right? You could use many words, right? Cowardice, intellectual cowardice, sophisticated procrastinations, and all of that. But this is it. The writer who never publishes never gets known, right? The researcher that doesn't push out that manuscript, nobody ever knows you wrote any manuscript. The artist that never pushes out the work, nobody would know that you're an artist, or maybe your friends know that you're an artist. Nobody outside your circle knows that you're an artist. And you know what happens to perfect ideas? Nothing. Nothing happens to perfect ideas because you do not want to test your idea against the world for the world to give you feedback. And so nothing eventually happens. You just have the ideas, it remains as ideas. And once ideas remains as ideas, they have no use to this world. Nobody can use them. They stay in your head, they're perfectly useless. And you know what gets executed? People who have ideas, they do not care if their ideas are perfect or imperfect. They just execute it any other ways. They just try to do something about whatever is in their head. And you know what happens about it? They get executed, they get tested. And then when something gets tested, it's going to keep improving. Apple was never perfect. I've read the story of Apple. Google was never perfect. I've read the story of Google. Zoom was never perfect. I've read the story of Zoom. In fact, I read about some of these stories. And we'll soon discuss those ones actually. But none of these things were perfect when they started. But the point was they had to start. And when they started, they weren't expecting perfection of themselves. They were just expecting to progressively improve. And that is what I'm actually calling you to do today. Progressively improve. Perfection is an illusion. The second point is actually called the feedback loop delusion, where you think perfection can come without receiving feedback. I don't think that works anywhere, anyhow. And the major problem I have with perfection, or a major problem I have with perfection, is actually the attempt of perfection to cut you off from the most valuable resource of improvement. And it's actually called feedback. Now, what feedback does for you is that whenever you do something or you build something and you push it out into the world, people criticize it, people say what they think about it. And in those criticisms, there are things called destructive criticisms and constructive criticisms, right? You take out of the constructive criticisms, you take the ones that you know will help you improve your work, and then you implement those things. And that is how progressive excellence is consistently achieved. And the person who eventually tries to perfect a PowerPoint slide for like 6 months would give a worse presentation compared to someone that has done 10 presentations and iterating over the course of 10 presentations. The person is going to do much better than the other person that's just doing one in 6 months. And the difference between both of them is just that someone has attempted to iterate, someone has attempted to prioritize progressive excellence over perfection. Again, perfection is an illusion. The only way to actually know if something is good is to put it in front of people. But you know what perfectionism does? It makes you terrified. You do not want to know what people say because you're afraid it's going to be criticized. And so what perfectionists do is that they avoid feedback by never sharing what they do. They create echo chambers that confirm their own delusions. And the echo chambers can look like this. You surround yourself with people who want to say what you want to hear. You surround yourself with people who you believe they respect you to a fault, that they're never going to tell you to your face that you're wrong. You surround yourself majorly with the systems in place to affirm your delusions. And the moment your work goes out, you do not expect any other thing apart from very good feedback. But to disappoint you, the world doesn't work like that. And that's the point. What you need to understand is feedback is not even a criticism of your worth as a person. There is a difference between criticizing what you put out, what you do, and your person in itself, right? I want you to start looking at feedback as data of what you need to improve, right? Data about your work, data about this, about that. Data eventually signifies that there is room for you to progressively do what is currently right, and it gives room for wider adaptation of your work or wider adoption of your work. That's what data does for you. And the pursuit of perfection actually prevents you from achieving excellence. And the reason why it prevents you is because you do not have data to improve your work, and as a result of not having data to improve your work, there can't be wide adoption. Because you're not building for yourself, you're building for the world, you're building for the society, and you need society to be able to find you worthy enough to consume your data, to consume your work, to use your work for one way or the other. You want the world to eventually look at your work as something that is worth it, right? So again, you can't perfect something in a vacuum. You can only perfect it through exposure to reality. And reality is messy, it's unpredictable, and it's actually very imperfect. Think about any skill that you were just learning, right? When I just started learning geospatial technology and advanced analytics, in fact, I didn't start learning advanced analytics. I started by the whole basic analytics and all of that. It looks like I'll never get to know it. When I was trying to learn Python, it looks like I'll never get to know it. But consistent showing up and, hey, talk to people who have done this. Is this good? Is this not good? Then that's how you form mastery in itself. Mastery is not the absence of mistakes. It's the intelligent response to mistakes, right? Again, mastery is never the absence of mistakes. It's the intelligent response to mistakes. Do not allow perfection cut you off from feedback. You need feedback to progressively improve. So yeah, the third one, and before we get into the third one, just kindly subscribe, and please subscribe and like. And if you think that this is actually being very valuable, please just share with your friends and let them subscribe to the channel. Now, the third point is progressive excellence versus static perfection. I've been talking about progressive excellence since morning, how that progressive excellence is just being better day by day. And essentially, that's what I want you to replace perfectionism with, right? Replace it with progressive excellence, getting better by the day. And let's just do a little bit of comparison between static standards and static perfection, static standard, whatever you choose to call it. I call it static perfection. And progressive excellence. Well, static perfection says that this has to be very, very flawless before any other eyes can see it, right? Progressive excellence says that this has to be honest about where you are in your development. You see, everything about progressive development just screams reality, screams authenticity, right? It wants you to be real, right? Progressive excellence says that this is the best I can do right now with my current skill level, resources, and maybe constraints, right? But I would definitely put it out there. I would hear the response of people, and I would gradually scale up. That's progressive excellence. And then when you pursue progressive excellence, every piece of work becomes a stepping stone to the other one. When you pursue perfection, every piece of work becomes a monument for your anxiety. It's like you're always anxious, and then even after you drop it, it's always like the problem, right? Because what are they saying? Hey, these people don't agree. No, it's a mindset, and the mindset of progressive excellence is much more better. It gives you room for feedback because you've always been real with yourself. And I want you to think about the people you respect in your field. Anywhere, whatever you're doing, go back to their 5 years or 10 years, were they as good as where they are now? If they are not, then why are you pursuing perfection when you're just starting out? There is no point to pursue perfection. To be very honest, progressive excellence helps you set a standard that challenges you to be better. What static perfection does is you set a standard that you cannot even hit, and when you don't hit it, it becomes a problem. Because the way you're thinking about yourself is that you're thinking about yourself in its finished product, when in itself, you're just starting out as a raw material to be made into the finished product by what you do, by how you do it, by when you do it, by how you believe in yourself in doing it, right? And it creates a feedback loop that never comes alive. Progressive excellence gives you a feedback loop that looks towards improvement. This is what you can do. Even when people say nonsense about your work, you do not look at them because you know what you're focused about. And progressive excellence requires courage, requires strength, requires depth, and you would have to face through those ones. And the more you do it, the more you beef up yourself, the more you make yourself courageous, the more you know that you're doing this and then you're improving this. While perfectionism in itself, it's counterintuitive, but it wants comfort. It doesn't want you to be challenged, and that's not the way you should approach life, right? It's not the way you should approach life. But what I want you to understand really is excellence isn't something you achieve once. You never hit up excellence. You have to consistently work it. And the people whose work you admire got to be excellent, not because they started becoming excellent. Your first book won't be perfect. Your first speech won't be perfect. Your first business won't be perfect. You see, and the paradox is actually that whoever created a work that seems really perfect, the Mozarts of this world, the best folks of this world, they didn't just start today. They recognize that having to do work from the first day really matters. Let's go to our journal, right? And I want you to open your journal and write down one project that you've been trying to perfect, and then just try to push it out. Do the best you can do it. Do what they call MVP, minimum viable product, and push it out. That's the first thing. The second thing is I want you to set a deadline for that work before you do it. Maybe it's to send it to the client, to do something. I want you to set a deadline for it. The third one is I want you to identify 3 people that will give you honest feedback. And that's what I want you to do. I want you to send that work to me. If you're very courageous of it, send it to me, and I'm going to give you the honest feedback that you need. You can send it to me in the comment section, or just the comment section is where we can actually talk. And when you send it in the comment section, you open it up to the world, and then let me know if it's a portfolio, if it's something, if it's a writing. Let me see it, and I'm going to give you the perfect feedback and the most honest feedback that you need. To be honest, I want you to stop chasing perfection. I want you to start producing. I want you to stop planning. I want you to start practicing. I want you to stop hiding. And I want you to start shaping your products, shape your work. Let the world see it. And eventually, everything is going to be fine. Till we all win, and we'll see in the next episode.